Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the new media show. My name is Todd Cochrane. I want to welcome you to the podcast. I hope everyone is ready for Christmas. I know that I guess I am. I guess I'm as ready as I'm going to be. Rob, how about you being? It's Christmas Eve. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I need. I'm as ready as I need to be, if that answers the question.
I'm looking through my stack, and of course, my wife and I, we gifted each other a new television set. So no other gifts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but so I think I'm done. But I do have a few things down here for how should we say it? The special delivery stocking stuffers. So
You always have a few of those, right?
that's right. That's right. You've always got to have those on the side, and
If you have any, cats or dogs, you gotta give them something every year too.
yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, no doggies or kitties around here right now, except for my daughter's cat is Psycho that's staying with us. So she's just visiting. But otherwise, I think we're ready here. But how is your week in the new media space?
It's been pretty slow, Todd. This is a typical holiday Christmas week. But I was charging head podcasting, and I saw that you were as well. This is the time of the year, as we've said many times, to create your best content. There's a lot of people with time off and time to listen to podcasts. So that's the advice I've been throwing out there: is if you're a podcaster, now's a great time to podcast.
Yeah, between now and about well, really, if you think about it, and I'm all screwed up here pushing buttons. If you think about it, the lots of new gadgets, so people are
Yep.
looking for content, and they're gonna maybe it's gonna be a kid or a young adult that's gonna ask, maybe if a parent's smart, they preload the podcast on the device. But no, it's people looking for new content and a whole host of things, and plus time off. So people are most people a lot of people started vacation yesterday or last night, and they'll
Hmm.
be off through the New Year's. So lots of time to consume content. So yeah, pour on the coals time.
Yes.
So
And the content doesn't have to be about Christmas either.
no,
Yes.
but if you have a self improvement show or health related show, this is really important time because people are always looking for their New Year's resolutions on what they're going to do, and the goals are setting and losing weight and all that stuff. So they're seeking out that content.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially the losing weight shows that they stop doing after 2 months, right?
Right. Well, the most New Year's resolutions get destroyed in like the first 72 hours or so. So
No follow through, right?
yeah, yep. But
Well, I'm sure that there's probably a lot of podcasts that get started up in this time period too, because people are saying, "I'm going to do it this year."
hmm and we've actually for the first couple of weeks in December, I was like, this is gonna be a slow month, but dude, it's
Yeah.
really picked up here in the last week. We had a surge of, I don't know what if it was just maybe people finally, like you said, maybe getting on vacation a week before Christmas and had a little extra time, and but at least a lot of new account openings. We'll see how many of those last.
Yeah. Well, there's always a lot of churn in this space.
It's true.
Yeah. Are you seeing it as well? It on the subscription side as well as the content creation side.
Well,
There's a lot of people trying out new shows and kind of moving through content.
what's interesting, I see on our side. I try to keep we've been worked real hard this past year to get the, I guess what you want to call the churn rate down, number of
Hmm.
people that are canceling. And with Mike Dell,
Oh, you're talking about plans on the service? I mean, as
yeah,
far
yeah,
as
people
podcast
coming in,
hosting plans?
yeah, and what we've tried to do is we also know that there's such a huge high failure rate of new shows
Yeah.
that we've spent a lot of time and really a lot of company resources to reach out and train new podcasters. We've been heavily focused on that all year, and I would say based upon that effort, at least from a pure cancellation standpoint, and people cancel their accounts because they stopped doing their show, we got that way down. I mean, way, 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 way down. And I think a lot of it has to do with, again, a lot of this work we're doing to try to um, help new podcasters get going. But time will tell on that as well.
Well, it's key to get them set up right to begin with,
Yep.
and then it's then it just really turns into a content game for them. And if they're having to battle producing great content at the same time they're trying to um, battle technical issues or problems with the platform, or it just it makes it more likely that they're going to fail as podcasters. So um, most podcasters get into podcasting for the content, not
Yep.
the debugging of the technical
Hmm.
experiences.
Yeah. So, but, that's, we provide I guess, a bi-week, weekly training. We do weekly webinars for new
Yeah.
customers, but also it's not just that. It's also, you're right that, sending them to the right resources on, the steps they need to get started. All these people are selling all these 10-step plans and stuff like this. And,
Yeah, they
um,
don't need them.
yeah, they don't need them because most of the resources are free across,
Yeah.
you do it, we do it, everyone, a lot of people do provide a lot of
And
resources.
oftentimes the free resources are actually more accurate and better than the ones you pay for.
Because of the so-called podcast experts per se.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I was as predicted, we've got a lot of top 50 lists and top 100 lists, and I was looking through some of those, and they're all very subjective. And
Oh yeah.
I was looking at ad ages and as a variety of other folks, and I just kind of like it's the same players, and then a lot of shows that, quite frankly, I've never heard. But then when I look into the details, they're like, oh yeah, another East Coast NPR or one of those groups, and they just people are not looking at the independent podcasters a lot, which is sad. A few get mentioned, but not very many.
Yeah. Well, I'm not quite sure why that is, and if it gets back to just the independent guys are just too loosely connected. I mean, at this point, and that contributes to that. You know, but it's clear, and I'm sure you would agree that the independent podcasters are the
Bulk,
heart and the soul and the backbone of this whole space.
absolutely. And, it's the bulk of the shows are out there. But there was a few things this week that made the news and were getting talked about a little bit. And I had to laugh just a little. Facebook's announcement about doing Facebook debuting live audio.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so
And
right,
then
go ahead.
and then all the articles that popped up saying Facebook has gotten into podcasting.
Right. In fact, that reminds me, I actually had an article that was, I've got it bookmarked here. Do I have it? Oh, please let me tell me. Okay, let me read this. Um, Live audio will become an important complement to traditional forms of podcasting. For example, what if most consumption to your show comes from via live audio rather than RSS feeds, which drives your podcast? What if live audio becomes more than iTunes? Then you no longer have a podcast per se. You have a live audio show, right? Indeed, this echoes a theme I have long argued. Podcasts are a form of audio rather than a platform all their own. The show is the unit of focus, not the distribution channel. I take a little exception
Yeah,
to that, and
there's
that
some there's a little shard of truth in there, but it's not as much as it's being played up to be.
this is from your buddy Mark Ramsey.
I well, okay.
Okay, so so here's the deal. A podcast is only a podcast if it's delivered via an RSS feed, and it is a delivery syndication method. Sure, there is.
Download,
Right. We're
download.
doing live on YouTube right now. We're doing live on Facebook. So we are a live show on Facebook and a live show on YouTube right
which
now.
is perfectly fine.
It's just fine. But we currently have in Facebook, I've got 6 watching live. And then let me look over here at YouTube. Let's see how many we've got over there. And those numbers are usually lower. So on YouTube, we've got 4. So there's 10 people currently on a Saturday morning on Christmas Eve watching our live show. Now,
Yeah.
if I relied on 10 people to support and be the backbone of this show being live, we would be in deep shit.
well, well, considering that we don't make any money off of this show,
And
it's
10
not a
would
big
be
deal. Yeah.
10 would be hard. But
Yeah.
when I have a podcast and we have nearly 5,000 people subscribed, then I'm pretty happy about those numbers.
Yeah.
Considering it's a podcast focused show,
It is clearly. Yeah.
you know.
It just happens to be produced as a live show and a live
Right.
video show, but
Right.
that doesn't make it a live audio show or a live video show primarily.
No.
It's a podcast.
It's primarily a podcast, but we're still doing live. So
Yeah.
my point on this whole Facebook live thing was that Facebook Live is audio. Those that don't want to do video, that's just because there's a lot of people that don't want to invest in this, or they just don't want to do video, which is fine. I think live audio is going to be great for a lot of podcasters. But here's the thing: I really think it's going to be, someone probably can cash in here if they develop a Facebook Live audio program that is scheduled to come on at the same time every day, 5 days a week, with a short 3 to 5 minute show. Something short, something very short that it's not going to take up too much time. They say that they're going to be able to have this. We're on at least on Android. You're going to be able to continue surfing Facebook and still listen to the show. So that's a plus. But
That hasn't been the case up to this point.
no,
So,
no.
yeah.
So that's a plus. I'll say that. So I think there's going to be some good uses of live audio. But
Yeah.
we've got some dedicated fans in here. We got Michael, we've got Rick, we've got Rita, we've got Bill. Folks that have got actually maybe a little bit on vacation now or whatever, got some extra time to
Yeah.
watch the show.
Well, and Todd, I do another live show every week too for Spreaker, and I get up to I've had as many as 50 people listening live, but then I'll get hundreds of people actually listening to it on demand.
Right,
So
right.
it's primarily a podcast. It just so happens that live is used to engage with an audience at a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
We can take feedback while we're producing the show
Yep.
and comment on that feedback, and that audience feels like a little bit more personally connected to us, and that's the only real advantage of doing it live.
So
It's not going to build a huge audience for you, and you can't really expect that it's going to.
So here's a question for Michael. Here's a question I have. I record a podcast live with an audience. Is it a podcast while it's happening or only when distributed via RSS? Well, it's kind of both, right?
It's it's kind of a mute distinction, really.
Where's
The primary consumption is a podcast, so I think you can call it a podcast, even though it's a live show.
and a lot of people
Um,
don't like using the word show in their you word podcast in their show anymore. So that's cool.
which is fine.
Yeah,
I don't think you have to use the word podcast in your
no,
name.
no.
No, it's the same with this show.
Yeah.
We call it the New Media Show.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and I do it, the Speaker Live show. So it's the same thing. I think that's an important thing too. I don't think that you have to name your show
No.
or as a podcast.
But here's the main reason why I've always done live. It's because I can. And I'm still
And you
recording.
like doing it. It's your preferred production method
Yeah,
too.
I'm still recording. I got audio recording over here on Adobe Audition. I've got a Blackmagic capture card that is capturing the video. The TriCaster's backing it up as a backup. I never use that video because it's massive. So unless I screw something up, and then I can go back to it or I can do a replay. But I do live because I can, and those that listen live, I love them from being on because they provide us some feedback,
Yeah.
and at the same time, we know that the primary audience is listening. Rick says,
Yep.
Todd, I have a podcast that just hit 80 episodes this week and 0 listeners. Does that might make mine the longest running podcast that nobody listens to? Ouch. You know,
Well,
to that means, Rick, time to get out there and start doing some cross promotion. Or if
yeah.
if you're 80 in and no one's listening, then you got to look at the content and see, okay, why am I not starting to gain some listenership? Um, my mom and I did after my dad died. My mom and I did a show, and that show was very, very, was talking about, you know, what happens to someone after spouse dies, and for us, that show was more therapy than it was anything else. But we still get people from time to time that comment on it, even today, that was recorded all those years ago. And we never had a big audience, but we didn't care. It was just her and I's way of kind of chit chatting about these life changes. So a show doesn't always, for an individual, doesn't always have to have an audience. Now, many will wish that they do. Um, but it also, I guess, is dependent upon the goal of the show. For her and I, it was like going to the shrink. We're doing therapy on each other. It was true, absolutely
Well,
true.
there's a lot of motivations for doing this. Doing a audio show or a podcast or doing it on Facebook or whatever. I mean, I think personally that Facebook supporting live audio, I think, is a good development. There's there's definitely a feeling that I have from doing live, with you and on my other show. I typically didn't do that in the past. I'm not typically a live producer of content. I I like to do post production um, stuff. But I've also seen it where there's some advantages to doing it too. I mean, it also, I have to be honest too. I work for Spreaker, and Spreaker is a live streaming platform, so I do want to demonstrate the the technology of the platform for the company that I'm working with right now, and that certainly is an honest reason for why I'm doing it live there. But I can also see some advantages there, and I think it does kind of dovetail in with some trends that we've been seeing. Um, from Meerkat to live streaming on Facebook now. It does appear to be something that is getting some traction. Whether or not it's building huge audiences, it's certainly getting some attraction because the big platforms are starting to support it. And it seems to be something that people are getting more familiar with.
Well, I'll be honest, Rob. The live makes you a better podcaster too.
It does. Oh, I agree with you.
You know,
Totally.
you're live. There's no cutting out of the mistakes, and what's in the content lives beyond you. Now, I did a live show on a week ago. That for some reason, I think what was going on. I think I had two kids playing heavy gaming, and I told them basically the rule is when I go live, no, um, head-to-head gaming because it uses a lot of bandwidth. And I think I had kids using a lot of bandwidth, and my YouTube video stuttered, and it just basically wasn't getting enough throughput. So I got done with that show, and I made it private because it was horrible. It was pixelated throughout the episode, and then I uploaded the same exact video, um, and uploaded that and put it on just because I wanted to replace it. But that's the only time I've really replaced or edited. And I edit audio, believe it or not. If I have a boo boo in the show, I think this year I've edited my audio podcast twice. um, but I've never edited the video, and I've never done a cut on the video. I just leave it in. So if you want to see where the mistakes are more often in the video than it is in the audio. Because the audio is easy to fix.
Yeah, it's hard to fix video.
It's hard. Yeah, you just if you're blinking at the same time I make the cut, you might miss the cut, but usually it's pretty. All of a sudden the head jerks to the side, because, because you're not in the same position as you were a frame before. So if you're watching, you're like, oh, he cut that right there. But I think the live audio is going to be good for some folks. We'll see where it. But how much of this? Okay, here's the real question: how much of the Facebook live audio will really be live but not rebroadcast?
Yeah, I don't think that there's any capability that Facebook is offering to actually record that and be able to give you access to it, so you can post it to an RSS feed or something like that. So I think folks that are doing this on Facebook, they're going to want to have a process that they can record that externally from their live show on Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, that would be my recommendation. And then it gives you the option to put it out as a podcast where you're going to gather a lot more listeners potentially.
So you think about live though, and there's different logistics challenges. So this year I've got mounted to my camera rig that I'm taking to CES a Mevo. And when I do
Mm-hmm.
live from someone's booth or something like that, if I decide to do a short 10-minute interview and do it live, um, that process is not super clean yet. And actually, I was just before the show starting, I was researching something because what I have to do is I have to mount, get my camera rig. That's all going to be recording good. There's no problem there. But then to do the Mevo and to get good audio and to feed it from the microphone that I'm doing the interview with, I have to patch that into my iPad, which is not a problem either. I can patch it in. Um, where where the problem is getting it. I got just one camera operator, so he's going to have to be running this Mevo thing at the same time we're doing live in a booth. And logistically, I'm thinking about if I had a third person, this would be no problem. They would just hold the iPad and do the stuff. But I'm going to have to mount the iPad the to the camera mount so I can do this Mevo production or this
Mm-hmm.
live production when I want to and have good audio. They people will they'll 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 put up with shitty video, but they won't suffer through bad audio.
Yeah.
So that's really my last piece. I really and what it came to is I got to thinking about it because I'm selling sponsorships. So basically, if you want live in your booth, you pay so much, you get an ad-free interview. It's only in people I've already pre-approved. No company that I've not pre-approved can just come in and say we want to sponsor. I don't do it that way. I think I've got 90 companies that I've got slated to talk to. So the company said, well, we want to do a sponsor. We want to get a free ad-free interview, and we want you to do live in the booth. I was like, oh, I got to make sure this goes off slick. So, it's just an additional layer to the onion. So it's the same with, so those recordings have got to be good. And the same thing with people doing it here. They got to have the mechanisms to store the audio. So I don't know what the interface into Facebook Live is. I don't know what kind of, are they going to have a streamcast? Are they going to, how are they doing it? That's my question.
I would think it's going to be pretty much the same way that you're doing it with the live video right now, I would think.
Well, then people are going to have to come up with a rig then to do audio into their iPhone or whatever. Then, the challenge is having enough battery on your phone to get through whatever time. There's all those things to think about. So it's going to be
Or
interesting.
they'll have to do it there and then they'll have to go home and record that show off of their speakers.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
but
always a hack workaround to make this stuff work,
yep,
but it's just a matter of is the audio quality compromised by doing it that way?
yeah. And my key is I don't want to compromise on the audio quality.
Yeah.
That's the so I'm going to spend another $100 on a mount, and the rig's going to get heavier. But what we'll do is I'm not going to attach it full time. I'm going to have that in the bag. So we get ready to go to do a live event. I'll screw the mount in so that the iPad can hang off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. poor Isaiah. The dude's gonna build some muscles because the camera rig is gonna be heavier. Gonna be
Well, there
heavier.
could be a new source of podcasters that are going to come out of this
Ah,
live
true.
audio on Facebook and are going to be looking for hosting
Yeah,
for getting it out as a podcast. Um,
but
but let's be clear, Facebook is not enabling podcasting.
no, no, and they're not gonna provide an RSS feed, and you're probably not gonna be able to download the audio and all that stuff. It's gonna reside just like it does right now. Hi,
Yep.
Eileen. How are you? Brad, Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Eileen.
So, anyway, I think we've beat a dead horse here, but yeah, I think Facebook Live Audio will have its limited utilizations.
Hmm.
Um,
And it's and if it gets more people involved in producing audio quality or audio content,
mhm.
then I think it's a good thing for the podcasting space.
And I'm going to stick with video at this point because I think Facebook's more a visual thing. I think people are more inclined to click on video and watch video than they are. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be curious to be
So
able.
you so you did hear officially that they're going to enable listening to audio, even though you've scrolled past that post
Yep, in Android only.
in Android only.
Hmm.
Okay,
Not in iOS.
because
And
that's always been the kind of limitation of this stuff with
yep.
these social platforms is that if you are looking at your wall
Hmm.
and you scroll past something,
Yep.
it stops playing.
Some video will continue to play now. I've noticed
Really?
that.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but it's annoying because you watching video to watch video.
Yeah.
Um, so
It's
maybe
almost like it needs to be like a pop-up that happens,
have
kind of
you
like with Skype, where Skype has a little pop-up
yeah
player that
have you seen
pops
what
up.
the news folks have been doing lately? You go over to CNN or Fox and you start playing a video at the top of the page and you scroll down, they shove it to the right bottom corner. Have you seen that, Rob?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's almost like a picture-in-a-picture kind of thing.
Yeah, they do it, and if you scroll back up, they throw it back up in the top of the website. That to me allows me to read the article and hear the commentary. I actually
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Mhm.
It threw me off to begin with, so I think that's pretty slick. So if Facebook does something like that,
Yeah.
um, maybe I don't know. We'll see. But no, I don't usually. I sit at this desk a lot. I'm different. I work from home, so I sit here at my desk a lot. So most of the time, I'm not looking at my mobile phone to do Facebook or other social media. It's right in front of me. So, but I know that's not the norm. I know most people are probably looking at social media on their mobile device. So we'll see how they implement it.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
There was an article that I promised the guy in the podcast community that I would deconstruct. And it actually was published on Ad Age. It's an article by Corey Layton,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and
I saw
so
that as well.
he's got some predictions. And I don't know Corey at all, and I don't know how one becomes Ad Age. I guess it's kind of anyway. Well, they usually have a pretty good lineup of articles and coverage. So I'm assuming in order to publish over there, he's done some articles in the past. But he says that in the same way that Serial is credited with kickstarting the podcast renaissance, okay, again, and it was about the fifth renaissance we'd been through, achieving
Yeah.
over 230 million downloads across both series, ESPN is about to completely re-image the power of podcast in sports until most sports podcasts sound like this, a predictable group of talking heads chatting while reviewing the week's game, often in aimless and circular banner. ESPN is about to score big with an obvious winner, bringing serial-rich narrative to sports. I'm sorry, Corey, but ESPN's been at this for a long time. And I think they've been knocking it out of the ballpark, and they are the king of sports shows by far and have been for a while. And he wants to talk about specifically a sports broadcaster's 30/30 for podcast, which is launching in 2016 with tell original sports stories with new interviews. Um, I think sportscasters are always telling stories. The good ones are.
Yeah,
So while it may be cool, and something new ESPN's doing, but they got they've had as many as 200 podcasts running at once, 230. So they are not new to this game, and they do a lot of great content.
agreed.
But this, go ahead. What are you gonna say, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, a lot of these predictions articles that I've seen, and I put out my own this week, and I sent you a link to it, Todd.
Okay.
Um, they they sometimes have some good thoughts in there and ideas about what could happen in this next year, but
Yep.
what they're kind of it seems like what a lot of them are missing, and I'm not saying this every one of them is like that, but they just seem to be missing kind of like important distinctions that they kind of get a little out of context or they're misinformed about. And I think it just gets back to not everyone knows everything about everything. And I think that applies to the podcasting space as well. Is that some of the ideas that are mentioned in these prediction articles are good, but then when you kind of really pull them apart, they kind of fall apart because the idea or the thought about what's coming is kind of coming from a person or a perspective that's just not informed about what's happening. Um, and that's I I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing, Todd? I mean,
Well, not very many people have a very wide view, and I'm not saying I have a I have a wide view within the progressive stuff I work on. I don't have an all-inclusive look into the space either.
yeah,
But it's pretty damn wide.
yeah.
Um, you
Well, I
know,
think in order to have that perspective, I think you need to have been involved in the space since the very beginning. Um, because if you haven't been, there's going to be a lot of little subtle things that you're going to think are something new and revolutionary, but maybe have been tried two or three times. And if you haven't been around the space, you wouldn't know that.
yeah, another thing he says is in 2017, television networks will play a vital role in helping their viewers get wise to podcasts. In part, this will be through networks creating more companion podcasts. Most of the companion podcasts done to televisions are done by individual podcasters, not by the networks. Most
Yeah.
of the really good ones.
I mean,
Um,
Todd, and you know this too, but a lot of the big TV networks have shied away from doing official podcasts. And there's two reasons for that. One is that they their talent isn't under contract to do that kind of content, and the other one is that oftentimes that content is boring because it's too inside ballpark. Um, there can't be any speculation. There can't be
right.
any guessing about what's coming. Uh, they can't really play in the realm of what the fans like to talk about. The
Hmm.
fans of a particular show like to talk about what's possible, what's coming, what is the new storyline likely going to be. An official podcast can't talk about that kind of stuff.
I tell you who does it best for a network, and it's HBO. Okay, for like HBO, when you're watching, let's just say, for example, the Westworld series, at the very end, they have a 1 or 2 minute,
Yeah,
their own deconstruction of what happened during the shows. Those are fantastic. I love those end commentaries that they do, but they hint of something to come, but they again, they don't let the storyline away. So
yeah,
I think if television series took from the HBO playbook, they could have a real winner on their hands. But they have
yeah,
to use video, and that's what HBO does. They show a scene, or they show this, or they talk about that. They do it really, really, really well.
yeah,
So that's the exception in my point. Um,
yeah,
and he goes on to say that podcasting is the zeitgeist of 2017. Multiple series inspired by the medium are about to hit the screens, giving broadcast established format and ready-made audiences while delivering podcasters great reach and awareness. Fox 21 is adapting Serial, which will follow the making of a podcast, explores case as well as developing This American Life project. ABC is recreating Startup. This is different. This is a television show that's been created from a podcast, not a television show that had a companion podcast show. So we'll see. We'll see what he talks about CarPlay a little bit, monetization, content over interruption. He says a number of major brands are cementing podcast advertising creation into their marketing. GE, eBay, Slack, Intercontinental, Virgin Atlantic, Tinder led the charge. Continued audience fragmentation is spurring advertisers to take advantage of podcasting's ability to target niche audiences. Advertising folks to grow in the U.S. about 25% a year through 2020. So, geo-aware dynamic ad insertion will increase to integrate timely targeted host read advertising into evergreen formats. I don't believe that. Very few shows do evergreen. Less than 3% have true evergreen content. So there's only 3% of the thousands of shows out there that have truly evergreen content.
Yeah.
96 hours, 90% of the content is burned on most shows. Content consumption. Customer branded podcasts will also gain. This is stuff that just continues to happen. It's so not a bad article. I'm not going to go into. He does make a prediction that Nielsen is going to seize a challenge, bringing Order of the Wild Wild West. They've done nothing. Nielsen has done shit in the podcasting space. They've been talking about it for a couple of years, but they don't have access. So they can't do any analytics. No one's playing with them. You have any thoughts on Nielsen in 2017?
Well, I haven't really heard any progress that they've made in the space. They're probably going to make some progress, maybe with the public radio side on the radio side, maybe of trying to get connected up. But you're totally right, Todd. And we had this conversation with Nielsen.
Yep.
I was on a panel back at their Nielsen Audio event
in 2015, right?
Well, that was last year.
Oh, was it last year?
But yeah, I mean, the SDK that they were talking about putting out to track podcast consumption, the focus of that was on the embeddable player or the client side.
Right.
And there's just so many clients out there and so many embeddable players. It's just not practical for them to embed their tracking code in all those players.
He said, yeah. He says Apple's been lax in responding to demand from podcast creators and advertisers for more comprehensive consumption data. Although the scope of podcasting instead will have that available radio, print, and other outdoor. There's the capacity to turn on even more detailed feedback. Apple may account for 60% of all this stuff. Many think that 2017 could be a year that Apple takes a look at its industry's offspring. I concur with the views of media analyst Ken Doctor, I don't even know who he is, who predicts a scenario in which Apple provides paid for access to non-invasive actionable data, and thereby avoids quashing podcast thriving sub-industry. Apple Apple has to date given no one no access to no data. User data.
I just don't think Apple has really any incentive to play in that area.
I thought with the Podcast Connect's website that there was a chance, and I'm still thinking there could be a chance that they would do this. Better be careful. Better be careful.
How would they do it though?
By turning it on, basically giving what network providers get. Rob, as you as a network provider, you know what you can get from Apple from their metrics that they provide. Mm-hmm. So there is metrics to be had out of Apple if you're a network player, but it's not billable, actionable data. And better be careful what you wish for too. There might be data in that that you don't want to really admit to. So it's we'll see. We'll see what happens here with Apple. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if I was to go to Vegas and put $100 on it. I don't know. I don't know if that'd be a good bet.
Well, I also have noticed that there's always this kind of like this subtle threat that if Apple doesn't do it, then someone else is going to step in and get that data somehow. And it's like, no, nobody else is going to step in and get that data. So,
I had to turn
um,
your audio up, Rob. They said you were a little low today. So,
oh, really? Okay.
yeah, we've had you up
Um,
pretty good lately, but go ahead.
yeah. So Apple is not going to get bypassed. I mean, what this past year we had a company spin up saying that they had access to Apple's data,
Yes.
and
Omni.
that's just not true.
They
And
had nothing,
yeah,
and they proved nothing up to this point.
yeah, and they've stopped talking about it for
Oh,
some
yes,
reason.
they have.
Yes.
Well, since they quit talking about it as soon as we called them on it,
Yeah.
they essentially clammed up immediately when we gave them the opportunity to come on and explain themselves and how they were giving unique data. It was just a press thing. So let's
Well, I
get in.
think they honestly probably thought that they had something unique. They just didn't understand the fact that that hand has been played many years ago. So um, and we know how that turned out.
Yep.
Uh, there was a company in the past that created a plugin that plugged into to iTunes and tried to do this, uh, right?
Yes,
As you
they did.
recall,
Yes, they did.
and Apple pulled the plug on them.
Washed them like a worm.
Yep.
Okay, so Rob, are we ready to deconstruct your predictions?
Oh, feel free.
9 evolutions. I like how you put it. Evolutions of podcasting in 2017. You didn't say predictions. You said 9 evolutions. All
But
right.
I I I shared this out on Twitter,
Uh huh.
and I did a little test between using the term evolutions
Uh huh.
and using the term predictions, and I found that more people clicked on it to access it if I use the word
Of
predictions than
course.
evolutions for some reason.
All right. And this is, you should have made it 10 things because we could have done it like what is that show where they do their top 10 rundown or whatever? The
Well,
night.
honestly, the reason why it's only 9 is that I originally had 10, but I actually dropped um, one of them because it was a little redundant with one of the other ones,
Okay.
and I couldn't come up with a 10th one.
Oh. All right, number 9, hosting distribution platforms, and I haven't read this by the way, so I'm coming in cold. Number 9, hosting distribution platforms develop better tools to help monetizing smaller and larger shows easier. I think we've talked about that here. I think maybe,
Yeah.
and if it happens, I think it's going to happen in late 2017.
Yeah.
Um,
No, clearly. I mean, Spreaker's on the path to do that, and I know that I'm sure you guys are, and I'm sure others are thinking about this as well. Yeah.
and it ties into the combination of programmatic ad buying tools with powerful CMS tools will appear to enable trafficking advertisers mesh across hundreds of shows in one campaign. Yeah, that is, but it will come at a price,
Oh yeah.
at a CPM price.
Yep.
So you go on to say, do not think most premium paid podcast shows produce rich revenue this coming year. It's true. The premium stuff is, you know, for some people it does very well. The big shows they do well, but most shows can't. They get premium. They may get gas money or something like that. Um, Number 8, Interactive Advertising Bureau's IAB continued march towards podcasting download and metric standards. So the group has put out a guideline. So you think we're just going to do more stuff in 2017?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Matter of fact, the team is just started and we're looking at our goals. And I can't talk about an initiative that they're doing, but there is a um, very important initiative that they're, if by March, should produce a pretty cool report. We'll see if it comes to task, but they are going to be working on the guidelines again. Number 7, in-car dash consumption of podcasts would continue to replace radio listening in the car. I think this is will be a 10-year march, don't you? To
Hmm.
to make this happen?
Yep, that's the core reason why I didn't use the word predictions, because I wanted to communicate this evolutionary
Yeah.
thing, because there's nothing revolutionary in my list. It's just a continuation of what we've already been seeing.
And with 230 or 330 million cars, how many, whatever the total number is in the United States,
Yeah.
um, it's going to take a while to replace. You look at my vehicle; I got a 2009 uh, vehicle, and I have no plans on selling it anytime soon. I drive vehicles till their wheels fall off because it's most financially available, financially viable means to get the most money out of a car. I know some people trade them every 3 years. I just don't do that. But the in-car entertainment is already in our hands. If you've got the ability to connect to Bluetooth on your vehicle, there's no
Yep.
reason why you can't do the in-car consumption. It's probably already happening in a big way. Well, you
Yep.
I look at my kids. My son gets in the car, it's immediately bam, Bluetooth, boom. He puts up whatever he's streaming audio he's listening to and drives me, batshit crazy listening to whatever music he's listening to. So, and I'm the same. I get in the car and immediately the podcast starts playing that I've been listening to because it connects to Bluetooth and resumes. So, um, yeah, I think you're dead on that. I think podcasts have been listening to cars a lot from the beginning. It would
Oh,
be
sure.
I'd be curious to hear what that breakout would be. Or you could also classify that as subway, bus, any type of mass transit.
Train, airplane.
Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting to hear what that percentage is.
Yeah.
Number 6, personal voice agents, Alexa, Echo. I've got to be careful here. Google something because I've got one sitting right on the desk. Siri and Cortana devices won't, because I start talking to them, they'll wake up. Will enable more in-home listening growth. I agree that we're going to see more and more, and it's going to be fun to be able to start breaking some of this out as these systems develop and we get more stats out of these. Google Play, they still haven't announced their API, so you can't get stats out of Google Play yet for
Hmm.
podcast. Amazon Echo, most of the podcasts are being served in from TuneIn. So, as more podcasting apps are built for Amazon Echo, we may start getting more stats from other providers. So we'll see.
Hmm.
But a lot of this consumption right now, and with TuneIn, at least we're able to get the data from them. So that's a good thing. We get the tune in play data, but we don't know if it happened on a mobile or Alexa or where it happened. We just know that it was played.
And I do know that the Amazon folks are planning on making this technology available to other devices. So
Oh yeah.
you may see this in kitchen appliances, in dash car experiences, in your living room, bathroom devices. There could be a lot of places that this voice voice agent technology is going to get um, placed and available.
And they've got a huge head start as well. Not to say that Google is not going to get caught up, but time will tell. All right. Next thing you've got in your list is dynamic ad insertion partnered with programmatic advertising buying and traffic and tools will improve. I agree. I think that is again at a price. And if podcasters are ready for that, then I think by the end of the year, this kind of ties back to number number
Number
9 a
9.
little bit.
Yeah, it
So
does. Yep. It's all the same.
yeah. Number 4, some host read advertising morph into more like host like talent reads. Um, I'll read what you said here. Podcast advertising is built on what's called horse endorsed advertised reads, and in the new year, it will continue to grow in importance to increasing advertising revenue in podcasting. The issues related to talent and the time needed to record these host endorsed reads. Thus, We will see a shift towards having talented voiceover artists record more host reads. We'll see two tiers of host reads, one done by the actual show host and those done by talented ad readers that produce the advertising message in the same method as the show host would record them. But I think still, it is so much more effective when I pitch than
That's right.
someone else's pitches.
That's true. So those ads will probably have a higher CPM.
The ones I
But
read will have a higher CPM. The ones that are read by
correct.
someone else will have a lower.
Correct.
I would agree with that because and I don't know what does the listening audience think today that's online here with us. Do you think the audience will have aversion to the non-talent person doing the ad spot?
Or will the network or the platform try and find a talent reader that sounds like the host?
Oh, oh, that's
I don't know.
interesting. Eileen
I mean, if you think
says,
about it,
go ahead.
if once we start heading down this path of more targeting
Yep.
of ad messages, there may need to be 5 or 6 different versions of host reads that are
Yep.
produced.
Yep.
And I'm not sure that a host would have the time to do that. And oftentimes there's show hosts that are just not good at doing host reads.
True. And I know some
So
companies are doing pre, mid, post. They're doing as many as 5 ads on a show.
yeah, and that's walking the line of being a problem.
Yeah. Daniel says I skip dynamic ads. Eileen says I don't listen to ads. That is the benefit of listening in the car on. Daniel says I don't like insert host read ads like gimlets. Matt says I would be interested in making a spot for something. So Matt's interested in being a reader. Um, so I think it all depends on how the insertion is done. It has to sound natural. It has to sound part of the
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah,
You
it
know.
can't be a substantial break. It needs to be
No.
just like the host stops talking, and then the read starts.
Well, I don't know. I just
Yeah,
it's a hard road to hoe for me. I think host endorsed and host read and is going to be the key, even if it's dynamically inserted. I think you
yeah,
have to. The host is the key, but you're right. Some hosts do bad. There's some very popular podcasters that do a shitty job doing ads, but they still seem to make money.
Todd, I used to run ads on my old radio show that were voiced by you.
Really?
I don't know if you remember that, but um, um, you and Andy McCaskey did an ad for me that I played on my old
Oh,
radio show.
really?
Yeah,
I don't even remember that.
go-to meeting.
Oh, so we were doing the reads. We were doing the go-to-meeting spot. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that is funny. Um, Eileen, you have to listen to the ads in the podcast. You got to support the medium. Don't be skipping them. Don't be skipping the ads in the podcast medium. We have to support. It's true. I always listen to the ads. We're it's and I know some people don't like them, but it's we got to keep the money flowing into the space.
Well, and if they're done right,
Yeah, they can be
they can be
entertaining.
fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Short segment social media sharing and playback growth. Podcast today grow audience by word of mouth. We see more plan to support the social media sharing of short segments from audio programs and social media platforms such as Facebook and Twitter. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why we introduced what we did this year.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
But let's be clear, it's nothing new.
Right. It's, and believe me, it's, I was playing catch up.
Yeah.
Number 2, live audio recordings to podcasting growth. One of the leading trends online has been been and will continue to be enabling live video and audio. As an example of this recent decision on part of Facebook to enable live audio streaming on its closed platform, some podcasting distribution platforms combine live audio and streaming and recording to be then encoded in MP3. Content creators and listeners like the interactivity of live. Therefore, this will continue to grow in 2017. I agree too. And number one, Android takes a larger share of the podcast listening market. Even if it's 1 or 2%, that would be great growth. Mobile
Yeah.
devices, and actually, Android's had a great year. And I need to run the end of year report as soon as we're done with December and see where we're at. But yeah, I had pretty impressive numbers earlier in the year. I was pretty excited about them taking iTunes. Well, the iTunes audience hasn't decreased, but taking away market share. So I'm pretty happy with where Android is. But a lot of podcasters could give two shits about Android still. I come across sites every day that have no way for an Android listener to subscribe. It's criminal. So
Yeah.
Rita said I was thinking of Andy. Yeah, I haven't talked to Andy in a while. Andy's been playing grandpa and doing his thing. So
Yeah. Hey, Todd, I was just thinking, so if we keep podcasting and into like our 70s and stuff, what's that going to look like for us? Is there going to be a resurgence of geriatric podcasts 10, 15 years from now?
uh, we already don't have a face for video. So
It's all
um
downhill, right?
yeah. So what it'll be, Rob, is 3-4 years from now, you and I will be going seeing plastic surgeons and getting facelifts
Oh, okay. Is that
and
what it is? Yeah, I
liposuction
should have.
and
Yeah, I should have
everything.
had that done long ago if I'm going to do that.
Well, it's true. I think what you will see because of social media, um, is, and you look at YouTube, you look at the popular YouTube guys, they are 30 and under. And there's not very many old YouTube dudes having much success. So as these successful YouTubers get older, you just watch. You just watch. They will be investing in plastic surgery to look younger. They'll be doing just like the movie stars do to try to stay relevant and keep their audience. I really think that's the case.
So are we going to keep doing this show for the next 15 to 20 years and morph into being more like John C. Dvorak?
Oh God, I hope not.
Curmudgeons?
I hope not. Of course, John has two faces.
I know he does. Yeah.
John is, on the Daily Source Code. John is very entertaining.
He,
He's hilarious. But
well, he always gets people to think,
well, yeah,
It's
of
like,
course.
what did he just say? Yeah.
But he can be curmudgeonly. Is that the right word? I don't even know if I can pronounce that correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think that's the correct word for it. Yes.
so no, I don't think we want to get into that stage. So it's just like anything else, though. You and I have to, and everyone in this space. This is the key. At 12 years, it can be easy to get into a grind where you're just doing the same thing. And I'll be honest with you, having started this new YouTube channel that I'm doing, and I've only put up 4 or 5 videos, um, it is, for example, we had a Christmas party with my wife's friends. I had a great opportunity to get 4 or 5 minutes worth of video at that event, but I just didn't quite feel comfortable walking around with a camera and stick it in their face, and it felt weird to me. Whereas, um, that's what I have to do in order to get this type of content I want for this new YouTube live channel. So you and I in some podcasting spaces, as an example, we have to stay current. We have to try new stuff. We have to stay relevant. Otherwise we become, like, listen to these two old bastards. Listen to these guys. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. So you and I are going to have to continue to keep our game up too, and not become like two grumpy old men. That's the last thing I want to happen.
Do you fear that that's already happened?
Well, I think we become a little more cynical in some stuff we see,
Yeah,
just
I think so too.
because I
Yeah.
think we're sick of seeing it and people not being informed. And we may not be 100% right either. So I try to caution myself and have, an open opinion as much.
Yeah.
Rick says, I predict Amazon will be taking a hard look at podcasting. Oh, they already are. They're taking a very hard look at it. I know a lot more than I can say. They're taking a very hard look at it. Matt says, look at Leo Laporte. He's been doing this for years, and he made his own network and podcast and shows. Remember, though, Leo, um, if he had not been on television um, and had that as an advantage, would Leo be as popular as he is today?
Yeah.
That is the
Well,
question.
yeah. Well, and he had a nationally syndicated radio show too.
Right.
So those are things that set him apart. Um,
Before he had a
G4.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
Yeah.
paid his dues in the audio world, you know, through traditional media, television and regular radio.
Yeah.
Leo's kind of like the Howard Stern of tech when it comes to radio. He's syndicated on 600 stations, so of course he's got this vehicle to promote his network. But he did that before he was a podcaster. So, um, and I'm not
And
taking anything away from what Leo's done. He's done a great job.
and he's a very very talented oratory, or I don't know if that's the right word for it,
Yeah.
but he is very very talented with the spoken word.
Yep.
So
And
that's
he's got a voice for radio for podcasts too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's built a lot of loyal followers, loyal content creators to just jump at the chance to be on any program that he's involved in.
Yeah, Daniel says I often want to do a vlog kind of stuff. I almost feel embarrassed. I missed it. It rolled off the screen. He feels embarrassed to be talking to his phone. When I was walking around the Arizona Memorial a couple days after the 75th anniversary, and I was narrating as I was walking around, man, you expect young kids to be doing this. I was getting some weird looks from some people. You definitely, they look at you like you are from outer space. But that's what you have to do to vlog. Um, Eileen
Well,
says,
it's
go ahead.
it's part of kind of living on the edge of this stuff. Back in the early days when we started doing this stuff too, and people looked at us. You do a podcast? What's
Right,
that?
right.
You know, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, we tend, Todd, you and I, to take the path less traveled, and that puts us in uncomfortable situations sometimes.
Right.
Um,
I,
but
I still have family members say, you're still doing that podcast thing?
yeah,
Thing. It's a thing. It's like a foreign object.
yeah, exactly. You're an odd duck, Todd.
So, but it's they're in like now everyone knows I'm leaving for CES. Everyone's always asking me about that. But I don't think half of them have a clue to what I
Yeah,
really do. It's like you still can't explain to some people. They understand the audio part, they understand the podcast. But when it comes to the business and everything else going on, it's phew, right over their head. They don't understand it.
yeah.
So, all right, let's hear what else. Rick says I get weird looks just standing around, so I guess that's worth a. Oh, we got some comedians in the chat room today. Eileen says I just smile at people and say Snapchat, and they nod like they understand, even if I'm not on Snapchat. Um, that's
Well, at
funny.
the very least, it gets them to smile, because just
Right.
saying the word Snapchat makes you smile, right?
Oh, some of the stuff I see on Snapchat these days. I saw it. Actually, I got sucked in. I will admit it. Someone had said someone shoots the first porn in Snapchat. And I'm thinking Snapchat's like a minute of content. How do you shoot a porn video in Snapchat? And so I'll admit I watched the 60-second clip, and it was not good. It was weird.
Yeah, well,
But it
all
was just
those videos are
it
weird.
was
What do
just
you
like
mean?
10 seconds of this, 10 seconds of that. I was just like, and the visuals weren't great. So I was like, but
Well, and the whole animal mask thing,
oh yeah,
and the warped faces and things like that. It's a new form of content,
I
Todd.
was in Texas and I walked into a wings place. Imagine that, a wings place in Texas.
Can't
And
imagine.
yeah, and Wings and Things or something. It's a chain down there. I think they're national. I don't know, but um, walked in and there's this guy sitting in the restaurant with his friends and he's got a donkey head on, one of those donkey heads, and I just stopped and I looked and I got my camera out and I took a picture of him and he got offended that I took a picture and I said, if you're gonna look like a jackass in a wings place, I said I am definitely gonna take your picture. You should have came in as a chicken. And his friends all laughed. But it's like, well, I will admit, in my early days when I was in my 20s, I probably would have been the guy wearing the donkey head. I probably would have been that dude. But at 50, no. It's just weird.
You're not going there. Yeah.
But that would be one way to cover CES, do an interview, wear a horse head and walk around doing interviews with people wearing a horse head. That would definitely be worth some views on YouTube, I think.
That would definitely get your picture on Facebook
Yeah.
and Twitter.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to associate my brand with
No,
horse head interviews, though.
probably not.
Oh, dear.
But that would definitely get you some attention.
Yes, it would. But overall, Rob, I think your list is of the evolution of podcasting is pretty good,
Thank
and
you.
I think it's a lot of stuff we've talked about on this show for this past year. So I haven't done a list. I'm just be frank with you. I don't have the energy to think that hard because we talk about it so much here. Those that matter are listening, so they know where we stand. I don't need to tell the world, and I'm glad you did. So, but I just don't have the energy to do it.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't get picked up by a big major media
Well,
article or something like that.
you've got to get over there and figure out how to submit to Ad Age so you can get your byline over there.
There you go. Yeah. And then it has credibility when it's posted over at Ad Age,
Right,
right?
of course. Or it makes the New York Times or Wall Street Journal, then it has credibility, right? Those are all vetted articles with lots of research and
That's right.
technical people that have verified every word that has been written in the article.
And I know you're being facetious a little bit,
You,
right?
you know what I could do is I could post something that would be like a total fake news article, make just a whole bunch of outrageous claims and predictions for 2017 and put that up, see what kind of traction that got.
That
Uh,
probably get a lot of traction
yeah.
because I can tell you being real with this stuff doesn't get as much attention
No, 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 it doesn't.
because it's cold hard truth.
Yeah.
And nobody likes to think about cold hard truths. They just want to live in a fantasy world. Hey, I just wanted to mention too, the whole, we had talked about the Snapchat stuff
Yeah.
and how younger people are playing around with this augmented reality
Yep.
somewhat on Snapchat. Because I mean, if you think about these masks that they're putting on each other's faces and the warped faces and things like that, um, that's a little bit of a glimpse of where I think media creation is heading towards. Is an augmented reality or a mixed reality concept, um, and and I think this next year could be a year over the next couple of years where we start to see a significant impact in the media creation world using augmented reality. I'm not sure what this means for podcasters quite yet, but I have a sense. I've been thinking about it more, and I do wonder if augmented reality or mixed reality will be able to be recorded. and there may be a way of presenting content in a mixed reality video, or that will be different. That we might see a little bit of a resurgence of video podcasting of some form start to come back a little bit, or is it just going to all just be YouTube stuff, or streamed off of other platforms? I'm not sure that there's a big impact for augmented reality around audio. I just I I can't visualize that. I don't know, Todd. Can you see any kind of impacted from mixed reality, augmented reality with audio podcasting? Do you see any
No,
connection?
none. I don't think so. And I'm excited to see what's going to be on display in Vegas. I know that I've been trying to get some invites to some private demos that are a company that are showing off technology that they're really not introducing, but trying to get funding for. So hopefully I can get into some of those and come back with some perspective, even though I may not be able to talk about exactly what I saw. But Robert Scoble's heavily, that's what his complete focus is right now is VR, and
Well, in mixed reality is the
yeah.
it is really, I think, the concept that's going to get traction.
So I guess we'll see, and you're gonna, if the, the individuals that think outside the box and are the really super creative types, not talking heads. This is gonna take a really creative person. Um, the VR stuff that's gonna be possible, or mixed reality stuff is gonna be pretty over the top. I think we're gonna see some amazing things, and it just is a huge opportunity for someone out there to be able to show off their talents. I'm really excited to see what's coming. I think we're going to be blown away, and time will tell. But the challenge is, can I watch that without being on a VR headset? Um, that's the key. If I can't, then it's going to have a slow uptick just because of the cost involved to have a good VR headset.
So we might see another kind of resurgence in the area of 3D, that could come out of this, because a lot of mixed reality experiences tend to be kind of 3D experiences. And so we might see more of a drive towards 3D in web videos. And from a display perspective, I think that's going to put a lot of pressure on, kind of display creators or
Hmm.
manufacturers to come up with 3D experiences that are not cumbersome to experience. Uh, I don't know, Todd. I would. I mean, if I were you, I would keep an eye on 3D experiences at CES too, just as kind of a backdrop to this whole trend.
Well, I made the mistake of going and seeing Rogue One in 3D. I didn't realize I had bought in 3D tickets. Um, and I regret having seen Rogue One in 3D the first go around. Um,
Really? Why is that?
yeah, it's just clunky. You get the movie theater
Oh, the
3D
whole
glasses
glasses
aren't
thing.
great,
Yeah.
and if you wear glasses, you have to put the glasses over. It just wasn't as good as one would think. But I didn't realize I was buying 3D. I should have known by the 1650 price tag on them. I was just trying to get in the Titan Theater, where they've got the recliner seats and fantastic sound. But I end up being in a 3D Titan Theater, which was cool. But the kids enjoyed it. But I want to go back and see it again in non 3D. But
So, so what did you think of the actual movie itself?
oh, I'm not into the political de analysis of it. I take it for what it is. I thought it was great. It's Star Wars. Come on. How can they have to really screw up to make me unhappy? I got to go see. Hey, I'm old enough. I got to go see the original Star Wars when it
I did
when,
too.
when it came out.
Opening night.
Yes,
Opening night.
absolutely. I think
Yeah.
I watched it 7 or 8 times. It's the only movie I've ever been back multiple times. And
Yeah.
people just don't understand. People talk about it being a leap, but people have no idea of. You think about the time period that the original Star Wars come out, and what they did with the first movie
Yeah.
was incredible.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
it was really a breakthrough, no
it
question.
was. As it,
That's that movie was revolutionary.
so now they just do everything in CGI, and they have renderers and people that are drawing this stuff, and it's all digital, and um, it it was awesome. The first, they have to totally. And people are talking about the politicals, whatever, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm there to watch a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Todd, did you see that we almost lost um,
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher yesterday?
Yeah,
Princess
yeah,
Leia almost passed away on an airplane.
yeah. They were doing. Heard they were doing CPR and everything on her.
Yeah,
That's believe it or not. The older you get, you think about your old ticker. And I did just sign up for a gym membership and for the whole family, and we're gonna see if we can lose some pounds in the new year. Not as part of a resolution, but just as a general health thing to try to get out from behind the desk so much. But um, having a heart attack on an airplane is the worst case scenario. If you're having a big one, you're dead. There's no way you're going to get saved. And must be she had enough. There was enough people there, and they had to be able to keep her alive. And holy cow, that's just the. I've been on airplanes where people died. So I think that's would be the worst way to go on an airplane. Just sucks.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad. So how old is she anyway? She's probably in her. She in her
I think she's in her
sixties or
60s. Yeah,
so.
I know.
Well, for the guys out there, you don't see nursing homes full of men. There's usually about 100 women and 2 guys. So if you can make it that far, congratulations. But it's true. Go to a nursing home, walk through, count the number of old dudes in there. They're not there. They're all 6 feet under. You
Uh,
laugh, Rob. Have you been to
or
one?
ashes. Yeah, oh, I know, I know. There's lots of available women as you get older, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm dealing with a situation with a good friend right now that's on life support, and it's not looking good. And this guy was one of those dudes that strong as an ox. He should have lived till he was 100, but a freak infection, and you just
Yeah,
never know when your mile marker's up. So enjoy every day that you have, folks.
it's true.
All right, let's get off the morbid. Let's see here. The
Sad moment.
Apple did come out with their best of 2016 according to iTunes.
Yeah,
And I think their list probably is as accurate as it goes, as far as and I don't see what did they say? Um, did they put the group of podcasts described as in iTunes as favorites? They are simply listed together in one group and not ranked against each other. Revisionist history, how I built this in the dark, Jocko podcast, Anna Ferris is unqualified, NPR politics podcast, my favorite murder, two dope queens. That show keeps coming up again and again. Accused, 538 politics, heavyweight, and pardon my take. So it's your Barstool Sports, Gimlet, WNYC, Cincinnati Enquirer, from Feral Audio, NPR political reporters, one, two, three, NPR and Panoply. So I think there was four, maybe 3 or 4 truly independent shows there. So everything else part of a network. Dun dun dun. Dun, dun. I think that's the key. You want to grow a big show, do it full time, get your skills up, and apply to have a show over at Gimlet or Panoply. I think being part of a successful network has some incredible value right now.
yeah, that's true.
But well, we are getting close to the end of the show. I'm looking here. Yeah, someone did a wiki look up. Carrie Fisher is 60. So, hmm. So, any extraordinary plans for Christmas, Rob? What are you guys doing?
Just staying home.
Did
Not, not.
your I think your daughter had her car stolen. And did I read that correctly?
Oh, it was last summer.
Oh,
So
I thought I saw something recently on Facebook where she was having
hmm,
issues. Oh,
I don't think so.
um, she was
I don't think so.
complaining
I
that
haven't.
she's
I
complaining
don't.
about something. I'll have to go back and look.
It's got to be something.
Is she
Yeah.
coming home for the holidays?
I. She's in Seattle, so
Oh, okay.
she's always around.
So you gonna have the whole gang in?
Mm, yeah, it'll be kind of a hit and miss because they all have their own family. I mean, their boyfriends, girlfriends,
Right, right,
families,
right.
and it's messy.
Yeah, I understand that completely. Well, my daughter Anna is in Tokyo right now with her boyfriend, and she leaves for Okinawa to go see my wife's family. I think tomorrow, and she'll be there for 10 days. And my son, my both my since my wife is absolute bottom of the totem pole at Hawaiian Airlines, she has to work tomorrow morning, so she's working from 6 to noon. So
Oh,
we'll probably pick her up at the airport, and I think this year we're just gonna go somewhere else and have them feed us, and then come home and open up presents, and she'll probably crash because she has to leave the house at 5 a.m. So she gets up pretty early. But so it'll be a little different Christmas for us this year just because she has to work. And my son, who is a college student and is he works at Outback. That's his
oh,
part-time job as a server
okay.
there, and so he doesn't have to work Christmas Day because obviously they'll be closed. But he's pretty happy with the Christmas period because people have a tendency to tip a little more during the Christmas period.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so
Generous. It's gift giving.
yeah, gift giving time. So
Well, my son. I don't know if I've said this on the show before, but my son lives in Russia.
that's right.
So he actually he lives in Siberia. So
So when are you going to go to visit,
he's been after me to go to Siberia for 6 months now.
Rob?
So
You got to go.
I know I do.
And actually, you're close. You just fly out of Seattle going that way. You don't, or do you have to go through Europe to get to Siberia? How do you,
Well,
what's,
you have to fly from here to like Moscow,
and
and
then back?
then you have to backtrack to Siberia. So
Oh,
it's Russia is such a huge country.
yeah, it
Just
is.
flying from Moscow to where he's at is a 5-hour flight.
Awesome.
Yeah,
You got to
and
do it. Because take your camera, and that would be an amazing blog.
yeah, I want to go there in the summertime because it's like every day there it's like 10 or 15 below zero
No, you
every
got to
day.
go when it's cold. That's to get the true Russian experience, right?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's that's true. That's true. And yeah, and I didn't tell you, but my daughter is now a manager of a big Domino's pizza store in Seattle.
really.
Yeah.
So she's not doing the modeling thing anymore,
Well,
or
she's still doing that kind of like on the weekends and on the side.
oh,
But
that's
they just
cool.
made an offer to her that she couldn't refuse. It's one of those kind of things.
Yeah, well, awesome. For those
Yeah.
of you that don't know, Rob, I don't know how this was accomplished, but Rob's daughter is tall and beautiful. So,
I can't claim any responsibility for this.
well, you can claim responsibility for her height.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
where the beauty come from, it obviously came from your wife. Didn't come from you for sure. But
That is for sure.
my daughter in Florida is spending it with her mom and her fiance, and so anyway. But so it's going to end up being just a small thing for us here. But for those of you that have been listening today live, we're wrapping here, but I know Rob. Maybe I'm speaking for Rob as well. I'll let him say what he wants to say, but I want to wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas or a Happy Holidays, depending if you celebrate Christmas or not. But enjoy your time with the family and promote your podcast.
That's right.
Because family and friends will help you grow your audience no matter what. They may not listen, but at least they'll talk about it,
Yeah.
and that's the important thing. But anyway, have a great holiday, Rob.
Yeah. I want to wish everybody a great new year. 2017 is on the way. It's going to be an interesting ride. I think with all the changes here in the U.S. this next year, it's going to be never a dull moment. And if I was doing
Oh,
a political podcast, I think I would have lots of things to talk about in the next year. Um, Now, as far as this show is concerned, I think we're going to have some stuff to talk about next year, as you could tell from my look into the crystal ball for what's coming. And also want to wish you a fantastic Christmas too. I hope there's some fun presents under the tree this year for you. So, and thank you for following us on the show every week. If you watch us live or even on demand, um, we'll keep coming back and doing this show as long as you keep coming back and listening. So,
yeah. Rob, I'm hoping everything works out where we can do a show next Saturday. Of course, I'm leaving
okay,
Saturday
I'm
night. It's going to be a little nuts, so I will let you know midweek. I should be able to. I think we'll plan on it. But yeah, I'm going to be, crazy busy to try to get ready to get out of here. But I think we'll try to do one next week. If
okay.
Are you going to be available?
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
can do one.
But
Sure.
definitely the following week, the week of January 7th, or the Saturday January 7th, there'll be no way. But we'll try to do one on New Year's Eve
Okay.
next week, and see if we can. I'm sure there's going to be some end of year articles coming out. But keep on podcasting, folks. Again, this is the big time.
Yeah.
Really starting tomorrow when people are opening their presents through about January 15th. Keep the content rolling. But if you have any comments on today's show, you can email me, Todd at newmediashow.com, or you can reach me at Geek News on Twitter. Of course, if you need any help over at blueberry.com, they help you out there as well. But Rob?
Yeah, I could be reached. Just send me an email, rob@spreaker.com. And I have a website at basically robgreenlee.com. That's actually where that article is that I posted about the evolutions of podcasting in 2017. So if you want to read all the details that are in that article, definitely go check that out. That's at robgreenlee with two e's.com. And I'd also do the Spreaker Live Show every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, at SpreakerLiveShow.com. Where actually I talked about my article in this past week's episode of the Spreaker Live Show. So I spend the whole episode talking about each of those 9 items that we had covered as well. I go into a little more detail on my thoughts on that. So anyway, thanks.
And for those of you that want to know what the president's doing here in Hawaii, he's driving us crazy by causing all kinds of traffic jams, as he always does. We're kind of celebrating because this is his last winter with us, doing 2 or 3 weeks of vacation and causing all kinds of chaos with traffic and tourist resorts and all that stuff. Hopefully, he'll start vacationing somewhere else. Future years. But we like the money he brings in anyway. So, but anyway,
Oh, yeah, all of the reporters
yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
all that income, and of course all the Secret Service staying in hotel rooms and so forth. But everyone, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on the New Media Show. Everyone, take care. Aloha.